Welcome to another episode of the MEGIN Spotlight series. Today we are delighted to have Professor Nakasato as our guest. He is the chair of the Epileptology Department at Tohoku University in Japan. Hi, Professor Nakasato. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm very happy for this opportunity.
You've been active in the MEG field for a long time. We're really interested to find out what started your interest in MEG 30 plus years ago, and how has its utilization evolved in your epileptology clinical and research career?
Yeah, it was mid-1980s. I attended an annual conference of Japan Epilepsy Society, but I was bored with the plenary sessions. So I made a side trip to a bookstore and found a book entitled Epilepsy 100 Elementary Principles, written by Dr. Roger Porter, a famous epileptologist in the NIH. In the very final chapter 100, Dr. Porter wrote about MEG. I was a neurosurgical resident at the time, interested in epilepsy surgery, and good at math and physics, but I didn't like biology, chemistry, or any other wet lab stuff. The term superconducting quantum interference device, we call it the SQUID, really fascinated me. That's why I studied MEG research. It was not easy to start completely new research as a young, poor, and busy neurosurgical resident like me during that time. I only had a kind of a reckless enthusiasm. I knocked at the door of Professor Taichiro Otsuka. He's a chair of the Department of Low Temperature Physics at Tohoku University. He introduced me to the biomagnetometry research group at the National Electrotechnical Laboratory, Tsukuba Science City, Japan, where I started my first MEG research using a homemade single-channel SQUID system. Can you imagine applying a single-channel system for clinical MEG? We have to measure here, here, here. It takes a year, you know. Then I moved to UCLA in 1989 to learn epileptology and clinical MEG. But at that time, also, we have to use only 7-channel system. But good supervision of Professor William Sutherland, I really appreciate him. Finally, in 1993, I was able to introduce a helmet-shaped MEG system into my home hospital in Sendai, Japan. That was 8 years after the bookstore story. With the introduction of a helmet-shaped whole-head MEG system, my long-awaited dream had finally become a reality.
What an incredible journey for you. Also, it must have been gratifying to know you were able to bring technology back to Japan, and that it was in those days still very new and unknown. So now that MEG has been much more established in Japan, as the department chairperson for over 10 years, how is MEG incorporated into the operational flow of the epileptology department? So how is MEG used in conjunction with other modalities, and why is that vital for you and the patient?
Yes, okay. Let's talk about the application of MEG for epilepsy. That is my specialty. We epileptologists say no single method alone. Maybe the careful history taking by experienced epileptologists is probably the most important method. Other diagnostic tools are not always perfect or sometimes not essential. There are many non-invasive but useful tools for clinical decision-making for epilepsy, such as electroencephalography, outpatient basis, and long-term video EEG monitoring, MRI, FDG PET scan, and MEG. For patients with medically intractable epilepsy, we have to choose surgical option using sometimes only one supporting data set among one of these modalities. Therefore, I'm not going to say MEG is perfect, but I'm sure that MEG sometimes gives us convincing data set for surgery, even when none of the others show positive findings.
So let's say in a case where MEG has been able to provide convincing data set for surgery when other modalities may have not done so, how do you describe MEG to your epilepsy patients and how an MEG scan might benefit their epilepsy care plan? You know, how early in a patient's care plan may that be recommended to have an MEG scan?
Yeah, it's easy. To my patient with epilepsy, I explained that number one, MEG is often more sensitive than EEG to explore epileptogenic activity. Number two, MEG has higher accuracy to localize the source of epileptogenic activity. And then number three, MEG can also localize eloquent area, which is important brain areas such as hand sensory motor activity, auditory activity, visual activity, and then language areas, which is very important for the final surgical planning. Patients should definitely undergo MEG examination when surgical treatment is considered. Patients may be put forward for MEG study when other modalities show negative results even before medical treatment of epilepsy. MEG is also a good study option when the first surgery has failed for seizure control.
So you've been dedicated to the field for 30 years. Do you feel there should be more education in medical school about MEG as a neuroimaging modality and to both drive interest and utilization of MEG once young professionals become qualified?
Yeah, I really want to do so, but unfortunately not right now. We say core curriculum. Core curriculum is strictly defined for all the medical students in Japan. But unfortunately, there are only a few medical schools or university hospitals that have MEG systems, so that in core curriculum, there's no description about MEG. Well, all of the epilepsy centers in this world can be divided into two types, those who have MEG or not. Maybe all the epileptologists can be divided into two, those who know MEG or not. For similar, yeah. For similar reasons, MEG has not yet been listed as an essential item to run or on the board certification of epileptologists as well as of clinical neurophysiologists in Japan and maybe in the other countries. But I'm pretty sure that all the epilepsy centers or major neurosurgical centers will or should introduce MEG for clinical routine tools in the near future. Well, meantime, we MEG clinicians should analyze our data and publish, and maybe publish. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is certainly something MEGIN would like to change as well, so that MEG becomes a standard of care in the healthcare industry. But we all need to work together to achieve this goal, I would think. So thank you very much, Professor Nakasato, for your time today. This has been extremely insightful and discussion on how you are utilizing MEG at an epileptology department at Tohoku University. Thanks again for your time today.